WWT presents Partner Spotlight.
The AI revolution is here, and it is reshaping industries at an unprecedented rate. As a result, the demands on data centers have never been greater. In fact, as AI ambitions grow, so do the challenges from data center teams. What does it take to truly support AI at scale? How do you design environments that can handle AI's immense power, cooling, and connectivity needs? And more plainly spoken, how can you ensure data centers are ready for AI? If you're asking any or all of those questions, then good news, because that's what we'll be talking about today on this episode of Partner Spotlight, brought to you by WWT Presents. My name is Brian Felt, and I'll be your host today. And I'm excited to have two great guests with us. From Cisco, Matt Gillies. Matt is a Cisco Fellow and Chief Architect of Cisco's Global Solutions Engineering. He leads technology strategy and has worked extensively with enterprises and service providers, and is an industry expert in, take a breath here for this list, AI, cloud, networking, security, automation, open source tools, and modern software development methodologies. Needless to say, he's an expert. And from WWT, we have Jeff Fonke, who leads WWT's High-Performance Architecture practice. As it relates to this conversation, he has a proven track record for building scalable data center solutions, a priority for any organization looking to scale its AI initiatives. Grateful to have the two of them here with me today. Gentlemen, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Great to be here.
So we're now more than a couple years away from the moment where generative AI popped onto the scene and changed the industry landscape as we know it. AI strategies are in flight or about to take off. So given that aspiration and focus on AI in the enterprise, how have you seen the power needs change as it relates to the data center optimized for AI? Matt, go ahead, start us off.
Yeah, I think, an interesting data point, Brian, that I like to talk about is on average, a chat GPT query needs almost 10 times as much electricity to process as a Google search. So therein lies the challenge for us. And recent research shows that I think Goldman Sachs recently did an estimate that data center power demand will grow 160% by 2030. So that's certainly, if you think about the processing needs of these generative AI environments, that's really what's causing our customers to rethink how they actually build out infrastructure to support AI.
Yeah, Jeff, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it spot on, Matt. When we look at, just a testament for what we're doing here at WWT, we've got our AI proving ground, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But, we're actually digging up the power or digging up the parking lot and adding additional power into our labs just to be able to adhere to the things you talk about. When you look at bare minimum of an 8-way box at 10 kilowatts per unit at peak, and growing with the new chipsets that are coming in. Customers want to look at different ways of doing it, right? That's why I love what Cisco is doing with some of these AI pods and the ability to kind of start small and grow big. And it allows you to kind of dip your feet into the water, if you will, or dip your toe in to get that use case prioritization, knowing that power in their data center and or in a colo or wherever it may be that they want to deploy is priority one, right? If you have a use case, but you aren't thinking about power today, it's more important than it ever has been. That's why we've built a practice around our facilities infrastructure team that can really go in and evaluate a customer's power profile so we can get out in front of that as they go to deploy AI workloads in their infrastructure to support it.
Well, Matt, given those challenges that we just articulated and the opportunity that exists in front of us related to AI, how have you seen Cisco's AI strategy shift and change over the recent past, and where is it going to accommodate some of those challenges?
Yeah, great question. So we've really been leaning into AI in particular over the last year, partnering closely with WWT, and I think an easy way to think about this is there's kind of AI in Cisco. We've been using AI for more than a decade in many products. You can think about AI in email security, for example, and detecting spam. You can think about in collaboration using AI to remove background noise. So there's many cases where we're using AI, and specifically ML or machine learning. But now I think there's a lot more work that you're going to see with respect to using generative AI interfaces to manage and operate infrastructure. So again, AI is being used in this context to make our products better, to allow our customers to move much faster and ask really complex questions about the state of their infrastructure. I think the other area is AI on Cisco. So this is a lot of the work that Jeff and I have been doing together around how do we actually simplify the way our customers build out AI infrastructure. So this is, as Jeff touched on earlier, this is allowing our customers to scale the compute and network infrastructure in support of AI workloads. And this is a really exciting area. Customers, kind of look at this and see there's a lot of moving parts here. So how do we actually bring this together? How do we harden this and validate a solution to support kind of the growing infrastructure needs for AI? And we'll touch a lot about this today. I think a third area that you're going to hear much more about is securing AI. So now this is really about how do we add tools to actually validate whether a large language model has a vulnerability, or add some guardrails around the prompt so we can do things essentially like validate prompt injection. So that's kind of the third pillar. So again, it's AI in Cisco, AI that makes our products better, AI on Cisco, that's the compute network infrastructure to support AI workloads, and then securing AI. Those are the three real pillars.
Yeah, that's great. Jeff, where do you see that fitting in the overall landscape as our clients start to adopt or scale their AI strategies, knowing that there's a very broad ecosystem taking place out there?
Yeah, I think the over the years that we've been partnered with Cisco, we've seen a great advancement as to what customers need from a simplicity perspective. We've been designing reference architectures in our proving ground for many years, right? With the onslaught of generative AI that really poured gasoline on the fire, if you will. It really just allowed us to take what we've done in the ATC over the years, partnered with Cisco, and over the last 12 months plus, Matt, it's been great partnering with you, understanding kind of what we're seeing from a customer landscape, taking the best of breed of what you're doing. As you mentioned, like we've had UCS running. We've already got a lot of the things that you're doing from an AI pod perspective in the lab. We can showcase some of these things. So it's really important for our customers to be able to see the art of the possible before actually making an investment in these very expensive, high-powered chips that are causing an extreme amount of additional power and advanced cooling. So, seeing you guys from a Cisco perspective and walking that path with you on where you are now, I think is very exciting. We were out at Cisco Live. You guys have been out here several times. I think, it's just a really exciting time for us to really ignite what we've done and to showcase. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about some of these reference designs and some of the things that you guys have announced most recently. And we're proud to be a partner of record to be able to bring some of these things to light in our proving ground, which we'll dig into in a little bit. But, couldn't agree more as we look at, some of our priorities in the new year. I'll walk into maybe some of those in 2025 and how Cisco will play a very key role in that.
Yeah, that's great. Let's dive in a little bit here. As it relates to AI workloads, a lot of consideration being given to the Ethernet versus InfiniBand discussion. I know it's something that a lot of our clients have asked us about. Jeff, talk to us a little bit about some of the tests that we're running in the AI Proving Ground that WWT has launched. I guess maybe start with a little bit of context on what the AI Proving Ground is and why we created it, and then get into some of the tests there with Ethernet versus InfiniBand.
Yeah, no, it's a really good segue, I guess, into I may have jumped in earlier, but the Proving Ground is really a section or a component of our Advanced Technology Center that allows customers to actually go out and get familiar with things before they make that large investment. No different than the ATC was founded for over a decade ago. And what we've done is really tried to build out many reference architectures, but it's really not about the hardware. It's about the people, process, the silicon, and I call it the silicon and software that bring a lot of this stuff to light, because a lot of folks can turn up a POC, but they may not have the actual expertise in house that has done this before, right? Let's be honest. This is a new technology. This is a new workload that customers are really in the enterprise. They're trying to figure out those TCOs. Like, what is the use case? How are we going to operationalize that? And what we've done is blended the best from a data science perspective, software development, and then ideally bringing that to the 4 pillars of HPA, right? And that is compute, storage, network, and the workflow that brings all of that together in the MLOps platform. So when you take the awesome resources WWT has thrown at this problem, and you bring those things together in a place where a customer can go and get unbiased, access to not only the hardware, but maybe they bring a use case and showcase a proof of value that actually allows them to see the benefit before driving that to a solution that they're going to bring in. And I know, Matt, you mentioned Cisco's been doing a bunch with AI. Here at WWT, we like to drink our own champagne, so we've built our own internal chatbot. We've got use cases that we've operationalized across all of our lines of business. If you've I had the luxury of sitting with Jim Kavanaugh, our CEO, when Chuck Robbins stopped by, and really understanding and showing and talking about the different use cases both each organization are doing. It's enlightening to see the investments being made, not only from the executive level down, but the bottom up. We are all in at AI for AI, and that's kind of what the proving ground's been built around. So. Oh, yeah. And back to the Rocky and Ethernet piece. Really one of the greatest use cases we can have is inside the proving ground is to, test different architectures. And in this specific scenario, we wanted to, make sure we showcase that Ethernet is a first-class citizen when you cluster GPUs together. And that's exactly what we sought out to do. We used ML Commons. We did some really interesting tests to kind of look at the performance profile from east-west traffic. And of course, north-south traffic to the storage and back, which has been viably Ethernet in the past. But just showcasing the connectivity between these GPUs can very much exist on an Ethernet fabric. And we've written some articles about it. So you can check those out on WWT.com.
Yeah, Matt, anything to add there in terms of just some of the tests that we've run or the whole Ethernet versus InfiniBand conversation that I know is, very much talked about these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. We're finding, over the last year, it's becoming less as a controversial topic, I'll say, than it was in the past. And part of that is because we did a lot of great work, and Jeff mentioned this, but there was a blog article that was published that actually showed that Ethernet and InfiniBand are on par. And I think if you think back to the reasons that Ethernet has been successful, certainly there's 3 that I think about: the price performance, and because Ethernet is so pervasive everywhere, we can really drive economics around Ethernet. The second is around scale. Ethernet's been able to scale, going from 10 to 100 to a gig. It's continued to show that we can scale Ethernet to now 800 and beyond. So we expect Ethernet to scale beyond 800 gig. I think the next part is around operational familiarity, right? And a lot of customers that are using Ethernet, obviously in their enterprise environments, they would like to use the same networking technology as they build out AI infrastructure. And that's why we really think the work that WWT led, that we work with them closely with in the AI Proving Ground is so important, because it provides customers practical validation that Ethernet can actually work in these environments. So I really encourage everyone to take a look at that work. I think it's exceptional and a fantastic resource for customers.
Well, certainly Ethernet versus InfiniBand, not the only thing happening within the AI Proving Ground, as you mentioned, Jeff. Jeff, talk to us about some of the other environments that we've built together, WWT and Cisco, within the AI Proving Ground, and why that's important for our clients to consider as they try to mature or advance their AI initiatives.
Yeah, no, I think the first thing we did was go out and make investments right away in the best switches that we could bring to market with Cisco in this space, right? We did that testing. So, definitely, from a Nexus perspective, Matt, thank you guys for the partnership and allowing us to get hands on this stuff. So that's where it really started, was a lot of the testing that we already referenced earlier. But, taking it from there, we wanted to take, not a lot of people really knew that the UCSX platform had the ability to run H100 and L40S. So we've already got that up and running. In fact, we were doing that. We showcased a lot of that at Cisco Live in the AI booth that we had that was right next to the Cisco Cisco's internal organization. So at any rate, we built out a reference design that can be shown on a flash stack, which is with FlashBlade from Pure Storage, but also with NetApp on a FlexPod type of an architecture. And that's running today with NVIDIA, NVAE a suite of software. And ideally, we can show some of their blueprints and that type of thing in that environment. So it's we're really excited about that one, sitting front and center in the AI proving ground. And additionally, we're working on getting our hands on a lot of the things that were announced over the last few weeks that should be landing very soon. So I'll let Matt kind of dig into that a little bit. But if you've got a customer that's interested, or if you are a customer that's interested in looking at how Intersight intermingles with and configures with some of these MLOps tooling with OpenShift, and really being able to deploy this on an infrastructure that can scale for inference, we've already got that running, right? With NVIDIA's best of breed, best of their software stack to be able to show AI enterprise running on top of that. So I'll flip it over to you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that what we've heard from a lot of customers, as we've worked with them together, Jeff, is again, there's a lot of moving parts here. They need to kind of consider the compute, the networking, the storage integration, the software stack on top. And we've really, in fact, WWT guided us here. We needed to really invest in out-of-the-box integration. And that's still out-of-the-box integration that we do. There's still a lot of work that WWT does on top of that to really, in the proving grounds, to really bring the end solution together for our customers. So we started with, reference designs, AI pods that are, essentially pre-integrated, compute, networking, and storage products or solutions that are available. So that's, I think, super exciting. WWT was one of the very first to actually test our new Nexus 800 gig switches, which support a technology called Rocky V2 that allows us to really optimize the way we deliver AI workloads over top of an Ethernet fabric. So it gives us some of the capabilities that made InfiniBand work really well for AI to the Ethernet world. And so we've, again, done that validation. I encourage everyone to go look at the blog article, which actually proves this out. I think kind of looking forward, Brian, some of the other areas that we think are really interesting is around how we start to actually look at security across the entire ecosystem. We've introduced some groundbreaking technology around Hypershield, which allows us to think about it as kind of moving the security perimeter to the host. So now we can actually do the enforcement of the security policy on the host. And we're going to take that next right into the data center switching infrastructure. So being able to do the enforcement on that top of rack switch that the server is connected to. And so essentially, you're going to allow us to do things like this central definition of a policy and then use the broad network infrastructure to do enforcement. And that's super exciting because it allows us to chop up the attack surface and prevent kind of lateral movement, east-west movement within the data center. That's super exciting. Then we've been talking to and partnering closely, Jeff, with you around as customers really think through as they build out their AI infrastructure, how they do that in a more automated fashion. And that's where we think that Nexus Hyperfabric is going to be really interesting. And it's almost reimagining the way that you build out data center infrastructure right from the point that you actually construct the bill of materials. So you're working with WWT as a partner, you actually figure out the infrastructure needs that you have, and you do the design kind of up front. And essentially the solution spits out the bill of materials and allows you to easily deploy the infrastructure. So again, really leaning in on removing a lot of the friction that has taken customers historically to build out AI infrastructure. So we think that's super exciting. And that includes not just the networking infrastructure, it's also the compute infrastructure. So how do we configure the network and the compute and provide things like visibility into the fabric all the way up to the NIC that's running the server? So really starting to think about not networking and compute and storage as these independent sets of resources that you configure, but how you actually look at the entire infrastructure holistically. And that's super exciting. We've done some really innovative things with WWT around, okay, how do we automate now the NVIDIA software stack that's running on top of that infrastructure as well? And as Jeff touched on, how do we actually look at AIOps and MLOps so that we can automate the lifecycle deployment of any of the applications? So lots of thought going into how do we allow our mutual customers to move much faster? And then how do we support kind of a new programmatic model for day two operations? I would say lastly, if I think back 6 months ago, Jeff, when we started this, one of the things that you and the team identified to us is, we need to go beyond, 2 GPU servers. We really need to start to build out much denser GPU infrastructure. And now we've introduced 8-way GPU boxes. This allows us to scale the size of the compute infrastructure that we deploy using NVIDIA, the latest and greatest NVIDIA GPUs. And that's really, really exciting. So being able to scale to support those larger customer environments that have more rigorous and complex applications, I think that's been super exciting.
Yeah, just one quick follow-up on that too. When you look at use case, demo, pilot and purchase, there's no easier way to do that than looking at doing that on a Cisco stack for all the things that you just mentioned. I think we're in a really unique spot to be early adopters for the 8-way box. So we are very appreciative of that. And when you look at Hypershield, Hyperfabric, what that's going to do for our clients, again, we want to be the place to showcase both of those. And we're working in our security enclave, which is that area of the AI proving ground where customers can look at guardrails, bias, securing AI, but AI for security. We've got some really interesting things, and we know we're deploying Hypershield in that environment. And then, very excited for what Hyperfabric will bring to the market and to be able to showcase that in the AI proving ground.
Yeah, I love that both of you are bringing up security here. It's such an important part of the conversation. Jeff, maybe a little bit more from the security perspective about how the security enclave interacts or works with the AI proving ground. What is the interactivity there, and how should our clients be thinking about security as being baked into their AI solutions?
Yeah, no, and I know I just touched on that very, very at a very high level, but the security enclave is really, we learned very quickly that if you're not talking about security with the C-suite, they don't really care about AI projects unless they know they're not going to be the next headline. So we quickly realized that we need a place to be able to showcase, test, demo, deploy, look at, how do you prevent bias? How do you prevent, obviously, attacks from, those types of things. There's, jailbreaking an LLM and doing things like, like Matt mentioned earlier on, injecting in a prompt. Maybe it's deep fakes. All of these things are top of mind. You don't want to be enterprise customers. They don't have if they've got good ROI and a TCO that they can show for a project, it can all quickly be ruined and thrown in the trash, if you will, if they're the next headline from a security breach. You can look at any of them out there right now. So what we did is we built this security enclave to really get hands on the software and the capabilities on top of, Matt, you mentioned it earlier, being able to do stuff inside the switch. We're talking about next generation data processing units where you can actually run some of these security endpoints on the DPU, taking that and running that back into the software stack, whether it's from NVIDIA and the AI enterprise, using their tools like guardrails to showcase how that works. We've been testing deep fakes, and we've got our launchable lab. You can go out there right now and take a look at that. That's what we built the security enclave for, is because, customers want to actually do these generative AI projects and AI projects in general, but without showing and knowing how to actually secure them. In fact, it's one of the top 5 things we will talk about as we go into 2025. I think number 3 or 4 is how do we secure properly the use case that we go to market with. So that's really why we built the Security Enclave. It's a really interesting place that we continue to add additional capabilities into. So hopefully that helps clarify, Brian.
Yeah, that was great. Well, I know we've mentioned NVIDIA a couple times already. Cisco and WWT have a historic partnership spanning over 3 decades, coming up on 4 decades now. But there's an emerging great partnership between the three, WWT, Cisco, and NVIDIA. Talk about how that partnership, Matt, we can start with you here. How is that partnership evolving here, and what does that mean for our joint clients as they continue to look into how AI can transform their business?
Yeah, Brian, great question. I think we've the three of us have had a fantastic partnership that certainly is focused on how do we drive velocity for our customers and simplification in terms of how we can actually get their use cases delivered as quickly as possible with positive business outcomes. And what we've seen is kind of an evolution where from an NVIDIA perspective, we started, essentially doing solution integration. And now we've got a co-development partnership where we're doing things like providing visibility into AI workloads all the way through to the SmartNIC that's running in a server. So that's really, really exciting for customers. And the work that we've been doing in WWT's Proving Ground, again, we're kind of radically rethinking how we can automate how our customers build this infrastructure out and remove a lot of the barriers they've had in the past. And so they don't have to be the integrator. They can get to market as quickly as possible. And that's, I think, the really exciting part. So we're super proud and excited to be working with WWT and NVIDIA on this. We've certainly got a lot of really exciting product announcements coming over the next year.
Yeah, certainly more coming over the next year. Jeff, maybe touch on some of the things that have already come out that clients can take advantage of within the AI Proving Ground as it relates to the Cisco, WWT, and NVIDIA partnership.
Yeah, I would say, the Cisco partnership has been fantastic over the years. We don't need to dig into that very much, but I would say, more so over the last 8 years being, top with NVIDIA in many ways, right? From a data science, machine learning perspective, having the capabilities that we've built around the data, right? And data is number one. That's our number one priority next year. And the data, and it hasn't really changed from the last couple of years. It's all about develop a robust data strategy. And if you don't have that, you're not going to get very far with your use case. But at the end of the day, when we look at why we built the AI Proving Ground, and we're aligning with NVIDIA and others, but NVIDIA, Cisco, and the AI Proving Ground, it's a place where customers can do a use case, they can get a demo, they can run a pilot, and then they can feel secure in their purchase, right? So when you take the best of what NVIDIA is bringing to market, you take their inferencing microservices and their blueprints. We've already got them up and running for the 3 or 4 that have been released based on these inferencing microservices, and you have the capability of taking that and partnering with what Cisco's developed and really running them atop a stack that's very easy to deploy, speeding the time to market and reducing the amount. And data science folks and the folks that are actually operationalizing these use cases, they're not that concerned with the infrastructure. They want that to be easy. So it makes me excited to understand that that was what Cisco, you guys have sought after to make this very, very much a turnkey type of a deployment, whether that's Hypershield, Hyperfabric, or the AI pods with a CBD. There's a lot of optionality there, and marrying that to the best of what NVIDIA's got with an AI enterprise, their blueprints and NIM. It's going to be a fun year. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, the AI space, I mean, we've covered so much already. The AI space is rapidly unfolding. It seems like real time. Every time you take a look at the headlines, things are changing in some capacity. So let's look a little bit ahead. What's in store for the data center as it relates to AI? What does the future of next gen data center or data processing units look like? And again, what does that mean for our clients that are just looking to move forward? Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing to watch kind of these three pillars around AI. First, the GPU technology itself. If you look at Blackwell, for example, there's a lot of drive towards energy efficiency that we touched on earlier. Just the raw performance. I believe Blackwell has 208 billion transistors, and again, we're doing very high speed parallel processing here. That's driving a ton of network bandwidth. I think also what's been fascinating to watch is just the evolution in large language models, and the ecosystem that's being created. We're kind of started with very large models, and now Jeff, I think you and I talked about this the last workshop. There's fit for purpose models. There's customers that are going to combine multiple models for different use cases, and this is an area I think that the WWT and the data science practice that you guys have is going to be super important for customers, is figuring out which model is really important and relevant for a given use case. I think there's a ton of work in academia that's making its way into real technology that customers can use at an unprecedented rate. And so if you look at kind of the original Gen AI model and the transformer work that happened, that's kind of spawned a number of refinements where, I remember, 2 years ago, we were having conversations around hallucinations in models. And now if you look at, what's happening with fine tuning, what's happening with RAG, there's been all these improvements to make generative AI, so much more tangible and useful in business and reliable in business environments. And so that's, really, really exciting. And obviously all of this is driving, raw infrastructure needs, the power needs that we touched on earlier. But it's a super exciting time to be in a technologist and looking at the pace in which our customers are realizing value. So the ideation and coming up with new technologies and the time to actually get those into products, that window has shrunk considerably, and that's really a testament to working with partners like WWT, where we can actually get that technology into our customers' hands as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Jeff, what's your crystal ball say about kind of what's over the next 6-12 months?
Yeah, I'd say maybe a bit of a spoiler alert, but when you look at the things that we're really kind of focusing in on in the new year, right? It's around the data, building a robust data strategy, helping operationalize around data, and being able to your point, Matt, putting that data where it needs to be for whether it's a small language model, large language model, a finely tuned or operationalized language model to be able to bring that customer data. That's a key one. And you mentioned RAG. I think we're actually looking at agentic and agents now within our proving ground. We're doing a lot of research there. You're going to hear that buzzword. I think that's the 2025 buzzword as everybody kind of familiarized themselves with what retrieval augmented generation was over the last year. I think the new thing is, how does agentic approach using APIs and agents to actually, make this a little easier to consume? Maybe that's the new 2025. But the other things, designing a purpose-built infrastructure is going to be key to be able to deploy those types of things. Facilities is obviously something we've got to all keep our eyes on, because if you don't have the capability to deploy some of these, GPUs in your own data center, looking at places where you can, that's something we're helping customers understand. Of course, security is in the play. So Hypershield and all the things that, Cisco, you guys are doing is going to be key. And the last thing, AI powered tools, some of the things that we're seeing from, how do you speeds of implementation, that kind of thing. I think maybe it's a coding assistant or something along those lines. I'd say that's, the top 4 or 5 things that we've got our eyes on for the new year. So it'll be interesting. But Matt, we look forward to, the new year with Cisco, new year coming. I think the 2025 is going to be one where we can inference at scale in the enterprise.
Yeah, we could talk for hours about all of this stuff. And, before we get out of here and leave, I do want to kind of simplify here. So for the viewers that are, out there directly responsible for supporting or enabling their organization's AI future, based on this conversation, what are some of the key takeaways that they should be considering as they head into the future where things are rapidly evolving? Jeff, go ahead, start us off, and then Matt, you can take us into the end.
Yeah, just quickly kind of recapping what I already just mentioned. I think that's, like the 5 different things to pay attention to in the new year. Work with WWT teams to understand that power footprint. Where to deploy. What's the validation if you're working in the public clouds today? At what point does inference at scale make more sense, where your tokenization and your tokens and embeddings are costing more than what they should be, or maybe looking at how do we actually pick this up and move it on prem? How do you operationalize these things? Leverage the AI proving ground. It's not just hardware; it's really smart folks that are doing a lot of really cool things. We've got data scientists doing research. We've got MLOps folks comparing various MLOps platforms. We've got obviously all the best from Cisco, and just taking all of that and work with our teams. We want to make sure that as you guys embark upon your AI initiatives, that we can help speed to market, help reduce failures, help reduce security situations, and just seek out and leverage what we've built, because that's why we built it. So Matt, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah, I think for me, the outcome is not AI, right? The outcome is how do we make our customers more efficient, more effective, deliver more value for their business, and AI is the tool, if you will, that allows that to happen. But I think what I'm super excited about, Jeff, working with you and the team is how we've made that so much more efficient for our customers. The time to value, I think we've really shrunk that window, and that's the exciting part. And part of that is doing investments in the solutions that we've been building. A lot of that too is the data science, the use case work, the complete solution validation that WWT has been driving. So I think the partnership has been fantastic, and I think ultimately it dramatically impacts our customers and their ability to reap the benefits of AI.
That's great. Well, to the both of you, like I said, I know we could talk about this for a long time, but we are coming up to a close here. So thank you both to the two of you for joining and having the great discussion on a very important topic that's going to be affecting our clients both today and in the future. And thank you to those who took the time to watch today on WWT.com or another platform. If you'd like to learn more about the WWT and Cisco partnership, which, as we mentioned, is over 3 decades now and historic in the industry, feel free to visit the partner page on WWT.com's website. We've got lots of great resources, from articles, blogs, videos, a couple other of these partner spotlights that touches on AI in all parts of the IT organization within your business. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.